Thank you for tuning in to your one and only official track and field bleacher report. I'm your host here, the track head, coming to you with recaps and reviews of this past weekend's NCAA Division I track and field action. Happy New Year for those of you who are returning for the new year. I wish you a great year ahead. We're back on the action. We're already, it's the first week into the new year, and we're back on the track with actually back on the track and the field with action in the NCAA Collegiate Division I track and field scene. This past weekend, a few schools opened up, or a few schools got back on the track. Some of the schools were their icebreaker. Some of the schools opened up for the first time, and some of the schools got back on the track who have already opened up in the first couple of weeks in December. So all the schools haven't run so far, so the times are still not as deep as far as qualifying marks are concerned, but there's some schools that have opened up and put up some really good times so far. So I'm pretty excited to see what's going on for this track and field season. Again, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't, please like, comment, or subscribe to my channel if you want to continue on and see more of these videos. In this video, I'm going to recap the men's track and field action that happened this past weekend. This was actually week 6, the official week 6, but for like week 3, 4, and 5, most of the schools were off, so there wasn't really too much action going on in the track and field scene for the collegiate scene. So this is actually week 6, but I'm going to recap week 6 of the men's action, starting off with the men's 60. The men's 60 review for week 6. This past weekend, we had a few schools open up at the Clemson Orange and Purple meet at the University of Clemson. Jaylan Mitchell, he was back on the track from North Carolina A&T. He ran another PR. He's already PR'd twice this season. He PR'd back in December, and he's PR'd again this past weekend running 660 in the 60. He beat a very competitive field, actually. A couple of names that I had mentioned in my men's 60 preview videos that I did a few weeks ago. From Georgia, Cejhae Greene, he ran 669 in his debut this weekend, but Jaylan Mitchell beat him in that race, and also in that race was his teammate Kendall Williams from Georgia, who ran 667 this past weekend. So it was a good competition already. We had the two athletes from Georgia that were mentioned in my season previews videos, and then also we had Michael Timpson, from a junior from Florida, University of Florida. He ran 669. So Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina A&T are already squared off in the first weekend of 2018 in the men's 60 at the Clemson meet. Ohio State, they had a little small invitational at their school. Nick Gray from Ohio State, he ran a PR of 666 in the men's 60. So Nick Gray, he wasn't competing against the others from Georgia or North Carolina A&T or Florida, but he ran 666 at his home meet, so that was a pretty good time. The men's 200. The men's 200 still hasn't really gotten a lot of people running it so far. It's still very, very, very early in the season. Most people haven't even opened up in the men's 200. So at the Indiana-Tennessee dual meet that Indiana and Tennessee ran against each other, from Tennessee, the University of Tennessee, Mustaqeem Williams, he was the first collegian to break 21 seconds. He ran 20:99. So again, this season is pretty early. Most of the top guys that I mentioned in my season's preview video. So if you didn't watch that video, check it out. The men's sprints video for the 60, the 100, and the 200. Most of those guys that I've mentioned in those videos haven't even opened up yet in the men's 200. But Mustaqeem Williams, he ran 20:99 so far. So he's the first collegiate and athlete to break 21 seconds this year. Actually, we had a high school athlete that already has broken 21 seconds, but we're talking about collegiates. So he was the first collegiate to run under 21 seconds. So we'll see if he continues to improve. Running 20:99 the first weekend in January, that's pretty good. If he can get down to under 20.5, he'll definitely be a contender for NCAAs. The men's 300. This event is probably, it's probably after this weekend, this past weekend, it's probably not going to be run much after this past weekend. Usually they're running 300s in the first couple weeks of December or the first weekend of January. So the men's 300 at Clemson, the Clemson meet, University of Florida freshman Benjamin Vidal. He was actually somebody that I didn't mention in my Impact Freshman reviews that I did for the men's 400, but he should have been because he comes to Florida from out of Denmark. So he's an international recruit, and he has run 55.85 in the Open 400. So he has a really impressive 400 PR out of high school. He's a true freshman. And this past weekend at the Clemson meet, he ran the 300 and he won the 300 running 32.80. So he is clearly showing that he's in shape. He's ready to rock and roll. So he's a good addition to the Florida Gators men's 400 program, and he could be on that 4x4. So they needed some replacements after a few key runners that they lost over the last couple of years. So it looks like they have a good one here. Also at the Clemson meet from the University of Florida, his teammate Kenley Fasasi ran 33.22. I mentioned Conley in the men's season preview video for the men's 400. So Conley had opened up in the 300. He ran 33.22. Also from Clemson, Cordell Lamb, he ran 33.28 at his home track in the 300. He got third in that 300 race. Grant Holloway from Florida, the impressive Florida athlete that's capable of doing everything. He ran 33.35 in the men's 300. So he didn't run it quite as fast as he did last season when he opened up in the men's 300 there, but he ran 33.35, so that's not a bad time for Grant Holloway. I guess we know what Grant Holloway can do, so I'm not too worried about him not, beating his teammates, Conley and Benjamin in the 300. So, I mean, that 4x4 already looks like they have a good 4x4, so we got to keep an eye out for Florida. They look like they have a good team this year, so Florida always has deep, 200, 300, and 400 meter runners, so we'll see about what Florida does there, so. And the other track action, there wasn't a lot going on in the men's mid-distance or the distance races. Most of the mid-distance or the distance races, they really don't open up to the end of January, the beginning of February. So we'll look out in the next coming weeks for those times to start dropping, and we'll talk about those as they come up. So I'll just jump ahead to the men's 60-meter hurdles. Grant Holloway, he is the defending champion in the men's 60-meter hurdles for NCAA Division I. From Florida, he ran 7.69 already in his first time out in the men's 60. So Grant Holloway is showing that he's definitely going to be a heavy contender, or not a heavy favorite, and the title contender for 2018. From Clemson, Kirk Lewis, he ran 7.83. So Kirk Lewis, we'll have to watch out for him. Also, it wasn't at the Clemson meet, but LSU had a meet where Damian Thomas, he ran at home. He's a freshman. He looked very good in running 7.84. So he's out of the state of Florida. He's at LSU, and he could be an impact freshman. I didn't mention him in my impact freshman video, but I have to add him to the list. LSU's Damian Thompson. He competes for Jamaica. He went to high school in Florida, but he competes for Jamaica. He was Jamaica Junior National Champion in 2016. So he looked very impressive when he ran those 60-meter hurdles at home. He's got a little bit taller. He's like 6'2". He's a taller athlete, and so the taller hurdles look like they work well for him. He had a pretty clean race, didn't hit any of the hurdles. So if you can have a clean race in the men's 60 hurdles or the men's 110 hurdles, then if you have a clean race and you can get over all those hurdles pretty quickly, then you'll run some good times and you'll be ahead of your competitors. So we'll watch out for Damian Thompson. I'll have to keep an eye out on him, an asterisk on him to watch out for him as the season progresses. So the men's 60-meter hurdles, again, it wasn't really too many other times that was ran in the men's 60-meter hurdles, but again, it's early. Most schools haven't opened up. So we'll just keep an eye out on that event as the season progresses. Get into some field action, actually. In the men's high jump at the Clemson meet, Keenan Lane from the University of Georgia, he had jumped a PR of 7 feet 7 feet 5 1/4 inches at the Clemson meet. So the University of Georgia has a good high jumper in Keenan Lane. There wasn't too many other quality qualifying worthy marks that was put out in the field events. A lot of people, again, still hasn't opened up in their primary events. We did see some of the Florida athletes do some of the long jump at the Clemson meet, but they were just, rust busting. They was just shaking off the rust. So I'll talk about them when they put up some impressive marks going forward. So again, it was just the first weekend for the men's events. It wasn't a lot. I only had the men's 60, the men's 300, the men's 200, and the hurdles. So it wasn't a lot of action on the track, and it wasn't a lot of action in the field. I mean, a lot of people competed, but again, they're just starting off their season. Most of the people are starting off their season for the very first time, or it might be their second. It might be their second time competing indoors so far in the season. So it wasn't a lot going on, but just definitely stay tuned. Stay tuned here. If as we continue on the season, we'll get into the nitty gritty. We'll get into all the on-track action, all the on-field action, all the throws, jumps, so we'll talk about all that stuff as the season goes along. I'm excited, the first weekend of January, and we're here. So, and that now the ball's going to be rolling week after week after week. We're going to be having some good meets coming up. We're going to be probably having some good times as people start to try to qualify for indoor nationals. So I definitely know that we're going to have a good time on this channel in the weeks coming. We'll have more content to talk about. But so if you want to be a part of this, if you want to be a part of that journey, if you want to make sure that you don't miss the content that we talk about in the upcoming videos, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, the Track and Field Bleacher Reporter. Again, I'm your official host here, the Trackhead, and I thank you for tuning in.